Hello everyone, George DeSantis here with the look at the market for the week ending July 31st, Friday, July 31st, 2020. Before I go any further, I usually bring up a disclaimer, so let me do that. Take a look at it, realize this is only for educational purposes. I'm not attempting to give any professional investment advice. It's a YouTube that anyone can view and make their own decisions concerning investments because I couldn't possibly attempt to do that for you. So let's begin then by taking a look at the weekly chart of the S&P as we usually do. So let's start. Let's look at the weekly chart of the S&P 500. I removed a few indicators so we could more clearly see it because it's so crowded already with the Bollinger Bands. But let's start with the moving averages as usual. You have the 4 exponential moving average, yellow line, 9 exponential, red line. The 30 weighted is just above the 50-week moving average, that magenta line. So the two of them are running right on top of each other here. So when we look at the relationship of the moving averages, we see that we have an uptrend. That's typically, some people say the alligator's mouth is open and opening even wider, these three lines here. So on the weekly chart, we have an uptrend. If you look at this last candle here last week, it appears to me that it's a bullish engulfing candle because it appears to me that the body of this candle totally engulfs the body of this small doji candle here. And anyway, it's a bullish candle, very bullish candle from last week. Now the parabolic is below the most recent bar, so there is no indication here to reverse the uptrend because it's a parabolic has been positive or indicating uptrend since back here in April when it turned bullish. Okay, at the same time that the Williams percentile turned bullish, this turned bullish, and the moving averages crossed above each other. You could see that here. Well, at least the 4 crossed above the 200, and then it continued to do its thing all the way up here. So now when you look down here, you can see that Williams percentile 30 period is still looking very bullish above this minus 50 line. MACD histogram, I left the 1226.9 up here, and that has a histogram that's even slightly higher than the week before. So that's bullish. And some of the rate of change indicator is looking strong. It's still looking pretty bullish. So all in all, we have a nice looking bullish chart on the weekly. So here's the daily chart. We'll take a quick look because I really want to spend a lot more time on the individual stocks today. But on the daily chart, we have some conflicting signals. You can see that the 4 is still above the 9 above 30. We didn't quite cross below at all. We just bumped off of the 9 here. And now we have this candlestick. Now this candlestick is interesting because this candlestick that looks very much like a hammer, if it occurs at the top of a trend, it's referred to as a hanging man, which is bearish. If it occurs at the bottom of a trend, it's referred to as a hammer, and it's referred to as a hammer because it's said that the market is hammering out a bottom. So this candlestick here gives me some agita. In any event, the parabolic just switched again to be below the last bar, which is the Friday's bar. So you remember on Friday, another way to look at this candle is that bears try to pull this market down on Friday all the way down here. This is the way Dan Gramza puts it. The bears tried to pull the market all the way down, and the market rejected this price and pulled it back up. And that's where we closed. So, take your choice how you want to interpret this candle. In any case, that's just one thing that we can look at. There are so many other things that are bullish. You remember I put these cycles of 10, 10, 10 cycles of low. So there was a low here, 10 bars, 10 trading days later, a low, 10 more, a low, 10 more, a low, and that worked out well too because it marked a low, and we had an uptrend since then. So let's look at the other indicators. We have Williams percentile still above that minus 50 line, that magenta line, that's bullish. We had a bearish divergence of MACD, and that bearish divergence played itself out to some extent last week. But we will now determine whether or not this bearishness will continue, or we continue to move higher from here, because the parabolic move below the most recent bar. Also, some of the rate of change indicator is above the 4% line. It's been there since about this level here, since about what is this date? This date is about July 15. All right, so that's enough of that. I could tell you that we still have a nice uptrend going both on the weekly and the daily charts. Now I'm going to go through some of these charts on the general market pretty rapidly. This is the best choice chart showing you the overbought, oversold regions, and it's now at the extreme of 72%. So 90% is overbought, and we still have room at the top. Let's look at another one. A chart of Apple. As you know, Apple gapped up, split 4 for 1, and those of you in the family group know that I got a question, what do you think about Apple? Should I sell it? And I said, by no means. Here's the time to buy it. And of course, look at what it did, right? 5 days later, bye-bye. Anyway, this is the new high, new low index. You could see that it's maintaining its level pretty much at the 50-day moving average. So here's the impulse indicator for the spider, the SPX. You could see the last bar is a green bar, and it was on pretty good volume too. You could see it here, pretty good volume. And so it's a green bar which says we ought not to go short. Don't test this market. Don't go short. Here's our chart of the percentage of stocks of the S&P 100 above their 200-day moving average. It's at 51, and anything over 50 seems to be pretty bullish. Okay, so we have quite a few minutes left for the individual stocks, and I want to spend some time on that using Shaken, because I love Shaken. I don't get a commission or anything, but I love it. Okay, and I use it now because look, I've been doing this stuff for almost 40 something years, I would imagine. I've stopped counting, since the 1980s, the late 80s. And this is one of the best pieces of software that I ever used. Now, this is the ETF list that I have. It's not just the spiders, but I have QQQ here. I use the Direction TQQQ, and you can see it's oversold and ticking up. So it's if it had the checklist rating, it would be optimal buy here. So if the Nasdaq is telling me optimal buy, how do I feel about the rest of the market? Pretty good, because Nasdaq leads the rest of the market. And what we had here was we pulled back to the 21-day average, and now we're trending up. Love it. Now, the other ETFs, you could see ARKK, which is one that I have. It has 10% holding of Tesla, and we'll talk about Tesla in a little while. But I like this one. I own it individually too. And you can see the metals, and the communication ETF. Well, let's look at them. Look at ARKK. You can see ARKK was up more than 100% since the March low, and it has a money flow buy right now. It's right at the 21-day average. It's oversold. What's not to like? XLB is becoming oversold. It's at the 21-day average, and it's one of those best performing ETFs right now. XLC is oversold and ticking up. So if it had a checklist on this, it will be optimal buy because it's ticking up. And it's right bouncing off of the 21-day average. XLV, that's the healthcare. It's becoming oversold, bumping off 21-day. XLY discretionary, now becoming oversold. So those are the ETFs to take a look at. And here's another list of ETFs. I was reading Barron's. I don't get it delivered. The guy who was delivering it poor fella, he might have the virus. I don't want to make fun about that, but I haven't received it in about 3 weeks, so I'm concerned about him. In any case, in Barron's, one of the authors there identified these ETFs. They're calling them thematic ETFs. Okay, thematic ETFs, and the average gain of this group of ETFs for the year so far is anywhere between, the average return is between 47 and 70%. You will notice that the ARK ETFs are here. Here's 3 of them. ARKF, this is one. You know, these things are up over 100% for the year. And here's another one. There are 4 of them. Here's another one. It's oversold. This one is Equity Global. Genomic. Genomic is a biotech type ETF. Here's, I won't show you ARKK again, but ARKW. Here's another one, oversold and ticking up. And so that's the ARK ones. Now there's some other ones. This one here, likewise, is showing you some real nice gains here. And it was oversold and ticking up. But let me point out the ones that are now oversold. Let's go back up here. That was oversold, ticking up. ESPO, that was oversold, is ticking up. HERO was oversold and ticking up. iBuy, same thing. OGIG, same thing. Similar. ONLN, ARKG, it's oversold and it's now below, a little bit below the 21-day average. ARKK is oversold and right at the 21-day. An ARKW, oversold and ticking up. And I bought this one, WCLD. It's the Wisdom Tree. I bought it because it was oversold. It started ticking up. I bought it when it was bumping off of this. I sent you an email on it, those of you who get emails. It's bumping off that 21-day average, okay? Let's look at something else. Here's an interesting list of stocks. By the way, I said that I don't get my Barron's delivered, but I was able to read the e-version, the electronic version. So in the electronic version this weekend, you find a list of stocks in a fund run by Barron's, not to be confused with the magazine, but I forget his first name, but Barron runs a couple of mutual funds. He's a guy that's very high on Tesla and owns a lot of it. Anyway, his Barron's Global Advisors Fund owns these as their top 10. You'll recognize some of the names as Alibaba and Facebook, Amazon, VEV, and so on, Twilio and Wix. But this fund has had a very good performance. I don't buy mutual funds, but I'm looking at the individual stocks. This fund has been up an average of 22% a year for the last 5 years. And that's pretty impressive when you consider what the S&P does. So let's see how much time we have left. We have a couple of minutes. So take a look. You can take a look at this list here. Many of these you know. Baba is oversold. Facebook is oversold. I own Facebook. This one, Amazon, is oversold. VEK is now almost overbought. SPLK overbought. GDS, my initials, overbought. Melly overbought. So we have a couple of oversolds. Not this one. Twilio is overbought. And Wix was oversold and is trending up. I want to go on to something else. Now I went through the last screener alert list that I got, and I looked for all those stocks that looked the best. In other words, they had pretty green signals here. Most of these indicators were green, and they were oversold or near oversold. Most of them were oversold. And I added a couple of others that I like for one reason or another. I won't be able to go through